Don't beat yourself up because you're not fitting into this perfect little box. Just do the thing that provides you with the outcomes. That's the thing that's important. Are you seeing the results? Are you seeing the outcomes? Then whatever it is you're doing is working, and keep doing it until you're no longer seeing the results and the outcomes, and then find something new.
Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Paycheck. I'm Paula Christine. So last week we had Pericles on, and we meant to talk about 3 myths of money, but we ended up talking about my favorite subject, money mindset. So we are going into part 2. So welcome back. People have to want to make the changes. Even though I look at some people and I'm going, I really just wish you would listen to me, and I just wish you would take on the steps that I'm telling you to do. But they're just not going to do it no matter what. Lots of times it takes something traumatic for them to finally decide to make the decision to open their eyes and see.
And a lot of times that's only temporary. That change is only temporary because it was something that was forced on us through this traumatic event. I mean, we see frequently people will get hit by a bus and they'll promise, everything they promise that they just survive, and then they'll go off and do their life a certain way that's different. But then over time, it just starts to go back to the way it used to be. Now, there are moments when people do change forever and ever and ever, and they realize, wow, I have another opportunity. But they're realizing it. They're actually bringing that critical thinking to it and thinking to themselves, this is not the life that I want to lead. This is the life that I want to lead. I've been given another chance, and now I'm going to make the most of it. And that's when people alter the quality of their lives forever. I mean, we see people who go through extraordinary things and completely turn it around and live lives that are amazing in the face of having dealt with what they dealt with. And then we see other people who have dealt with the same thing, very similar, and their lives are run by that thing for the rest of their lives. That's not to diminish anyone's experience. It's simply to demonstrate that it is possible to go through something, persevere, overcome, and create an extraordinary life, or let that thing run your life for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I struggle with, and this is just all new for me because I've just, through a divorce a few years ago, just started on this path of changing my life because those stories would run in my head and then they were reconfirmed by some of the people in my life. And so I had to change those stories. And I just feel so good, and it's just so amazing. And people look at me and say, you just have such a blessed life. And I do, but I make that blessed life. But I wish there was a way to, just for a moment, get people to be able to see what it could be if they would just do the steps and what their life could be, what it could be. And it's amazing what it could be.
I love that aspect of being human is so extraordinary, is that desire for people to experience that. And our job is not to do that, is to live our own best lives. I can't make anyone see the light or change or have a better life. And if I go through my life suffering over, I just wish if they could just, then I'm diminished by that. My job is to be joyous and happy, grateful and fulfilled every single moment of my life, and to touch every single person whose lives I come in contact with that from myself. What they do with it is totally on them. Whether they take it on or whether they just know that guy's a jerk, he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, makes no difference to me, because my happiness and my joy, my fulfillment is not based on anyone else. It is all about me. And when I live that life, other people are free to live their lives. And the really interesting thing about this is that without that contrast, without seeing other people who are doing things differently, we can't determine how we want to do things in our lives. Now, where people can get sidetracked is they start focusing on what they don't want. Well, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And then they manifest more of what they don't want because that's what they're focused on. But when we can see 2 things, we can say, wow, I don't want that, but I do like that. And we just focus on what we do want. and express that gratitude as it shows up, then that's the key to having all the things in your life that you do want. Don't focus on the things you don't want. Don't focus on the people that aren't there. The people that want to be there, who see you as an opportunity to get there, to help them, they will show up in your life. The people who aren't, they'll just vanish. They'll disappear. You won't see them as much anymore. You'll only see the people that are experiencing what you're experiencing or aligned with it will elevate you like you'll elevate them.
I think about a lot of things, and I relate a lot because I have a lot of single friends that and dating and to me, like, manifesting money is kind of like manifesting a partner, as it's manifesting the lake house or it's manifesting whatever. And it's hard when you get into conversations. I'm just going to relate this to dating for a second, when they're like, well, I don't want the guy that does this, and I don't want the guy that does this, and I don't want the guy that does this. And then you're like sitting there and I'm listening and I'm thinking, and I sometimes, believe me, will go down the train with them, or down the track with them on that train, but we all do it. But it's so hard. Then, like, I have to rechange my thinking. Like, a friend was over yesterday and she's like, well, maybe you need to change the way you're dating. And I'm, first of all, like, married friends should never tell me how to date, first of all. But I'm like, well, maybe you should do this, but I don't want that. This is what I want. So stop trying to make me do that. And you have to change that thought. Like,
Right.
I want a guy that makes me laugh, instead of, it's really hard to translate all this into every aspect of your life and have it all make sense. But I get that when you feel like, oh, am I ever going to get a date, to he's coming tomorrow. He's coming, he's not here yet. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like changing that. I don't want the narcissist. Well, stop saying you don't want the narcissist, because the narcissist is coming.
Right. Right. Because again, that's what we manifest, is what we focus on. And a lot of times people just don't realize that. They really, they're well-intended when they're thinking, I don't want this. I don't want this. And then they don't understand why that which they don't want keeps showing up. And it's because that's what they're focused on. Now, going to your friends, and I never coach anyone in my life unless they're a request for me to coach them, unless they're a request for me to provide something for them. And I will always pre-frame it. So if somebody asks me, my best friend Stu says something to me, actually, I take that back. He and I have an ongoing agreement. He knows he can say whatever to me, and I know I can say whatever to him. We don't need permission because we have that relationship, but it's established. But in general, I will not coach someone unless they ask. And before I will provide coaching, I will pre-frame and say, so are you asking me for what I think? Are you asking me for my insight to what you're saying? And if they say yes, then they're clear I'm going to give it to them exactly as I see it, with love and compassion, but exactly as I see it. And if they say no, then I'm not going to give it to them. Or if they're not asking, they're just complaining, then I'm going to deflect the complaint. I'm going to say, look, I can appreciate you're going through something, but I would appreciate it if you didn't just bring complaints to me, because there's nothing I can do about it.
What a nice thing to say.
And I'm not going to let them dump into my space the complaints that they have. And then suddenly the people around me get trained. Don't go to Pericles if you've got a complaint unless you're ready to solve it. Because I'm not interested in these hamster wheels of complaints. Doesn't solve anything, and it shifts your vibrational frequency, and suddenly more and more complaints come up, and then more things to complain about start to show up, and it's this rabbit hole. So really retraining people around you how to interact with you will make all the difference in the world as well. People don't bring drama to me. They don't bring complaints to me unless they want to solve it. I'm up for that anytime. Somebody comes to me and they've got something they're trying to figure out and they can't, and they need my insight, 100%, I'm here for that.
Oh, that's a great thing to teach your children.
Oh my gosh, your kids' lives will be all completely different. They'll be altered forever if they grow up in a world where they don't just complain to complain, that they only complain to someone who can actually help them solve the complaint. Life will be different. They'll be spending more of their time having fun and living life than just complaining.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's because we all have those people in our lives, and it would be so nice to be able to make that statement. Do you want me to help you? No?
Yep.
Then basically take your complaint someplace else.
Exactly. And the really cool part about this is you want to be standing in that person is complaining to you simply because you have allowed them to complain to you for so long. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just doing what you've set up in that dynamic of your relationship. Now, having done that, you can reset it up. You can
Right.
retrain everyone in the relationship and be aware that it's going to be an upset for them because suddenly you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to hear this, but you've been doing this for years. There will be some growing pains in it. And you may find that some people, they choose themselves out. They no
And
longer
that's okay.
want to be in that
And
relationship.
that's okay.
And that's totally
Yeah.
fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But just be aware of it. Because when we get so used to those things being in our lives and suddenly they're not there, it's easy for us to say, you know what, I'm not going to go back there anymore. And then we feel the pull of, well, that person's not going to be there anymore. It's like a withdrawal from that addictive drug that complaints are. Suddenly it's like, ooh, and we have to be aware of that. And we have to make that break, or you will rebound or relapse and you'll be back into the addictive nature of that complaint again.
You're fascinating.
Thank you.
I always
I
say
hope that
that
was a compliment.
it was a compliment. I always say that people come into my life at the very most that I need to hear something that they have to hear.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm going to be totally honest right now. I had no idea who you were until about maybe an hour ago when I looked you up.
Mm.
I just know people want to be on the show, and I like that surprise. I like to know. I like to have the conversations of somebody that I just met. I think those are the most interesting conversations that you can have.
Mm.
But you came into my life at the most perfect moment, because I'm like writing these dreams and doing all these things, and I just like going a little backwards, and I'm like, no. And so I needed you today. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I find that when we get to that place in our life where we're truly ready, when we are now open to and are allowing the things to come into our lives that we truly want, then those people show up in our lives, just like you described now. And so when we notice that those things aren't, we have to look to see, well, where am I blocking? Where am I blocking what I want in my life? And it's true about everything. That circular conversation is the same thing for love. If you're not experiencing love in your life, where are you blocking love coming to you? Where are you blocking it going away from you? Happiness, joy, satisfaction. These are all things that we can look to see, where are we blocking the flow of that in my life, clearing those blocks out. And then we watch them start to show up abundantly in our lives. And it's very much like this conversation. You were ready for that. You'd cleared the blocks. And then here we are having this conversation.
Yeah, it goes for everything, even losing weight, being physically fit. There's everything that you want. There's a block. You just have to figure out what that block is and move past it.
Yep. And I'm glad you said that, because sometimes people will be struggling to find where the block comes from. So, for example, I've had people say to me, well, Pericles, you talk about one of the things I talked about when I was growing up as a kid and watching this show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I'm dating myself now, where, there were all these rich people and their just lives were
I don't know. I
miserable.
wasn't
And I
born
remember
then.
watching this as a kid. Yeah, exactly. And so I remember watching this with my family one night. And at the end of the show, my mom says very casually, without any agenda, I never want to have that kind of money. You lose your whole family. And in that moment, that 7-year-old kid decided and put it in the back of the brain, part of my operating system or part of my financial thermostat, never make more than this much money because you'll lose your whole family. And I loved my family. So there was this glass ceiling that I kept bumping up against, and I was able to see the conversation and then clear the block. Now, some people can't see where the conversation came from, and that's okay, because all you need to do is declare that whatever that thing is that's stopping you from X, Y, and Z, that is no longer my conversation, and let it go in that generic form. So you don't have to be able to see where it came from. People spend decades in therapy, and I'm not diminishing therapy. I think it's great. If you need it, do it. But they spend years and years and years trying to figure out why they are the way they are. Then they figure out why they are the way they are. And I ask them, I say, "So make a difference?" "No, but I know why I'm that way." Well, what's the point? I don't care why you are a certain way. What I care about is, are you experiencing life the way you want to experience it? Are you having the kind of life that you want to have right now? That's what's important. So focus on the things you want, not the things that you don't want, or the reason you are the way you are.
Now, I'm not going to say anything about therapy either and whatever, but it's hard to go there once a week and relive the same story over and over again, because you're doing exactly the opposite of what we're talking about. As you keep telling that story of your mom did this, your dad did this, whatever it was that you believe is holding you back from going forward. But the more you keep talking about it, you're never going to get past it, I believe. You need to then do the things of letting it go and deciding what you, like we just talked about, and deciding to go forward in your life. So that's one thing that I struggle with about some therapists. Some are not this way, but some therapists where you keep reliving that story over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a medical doctor, but I think for some people it works. There are things that are deep-seated that might need to be uncovered, that might need to be addressed so that they can then own it and let it go and move on. But if therapy is for you and it works for you, do therapy. If it is something that you're finding isn't working, make sure that the person you're working with is somebody that works for you. You know, there's no one right answer for anyone. There's no one right coach or one right therapist or one right process or whatever. Find the thing that works for you. I have people say to me all the time, "Oh, Pericles, everybody says meditation's great and you got to do it. And I've tried it and I hate it and I hate it." I'm like, why are you meditating then? You shouldn't be meditating if you hate it. If it doesn't work for you, find the thing that works for you. And if you find something that works for you and you do it and you're getting the outcomes, you're getting the results that you want, but then there's a moment when it comes like, well, I don't think this is working for me anymore. Don't force yourself to keep doing it. Find something new. I do that all the time. I meditated for a long time and it was amazing. Then I'm like, okay, I don't think I need to meditate anymore. So what do I do next? I started journaling and tried something different. And that was amazing. And then that came to its natural completion and I moved on to something else. Don't force yourself to do something because somebody else does it. Try it. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, great. And if you find it works and then it no longer works, great. Find something new. Don't beat yourself up because you're not fitting into this perfect little box. Just do the thing that provides you with the outcomes. That's the thing that's important. Are you seeing the results? Are you seeing the outcomes? Then whatever it is you're doing is working, and keep doing it until you're no longer seeing the results and the outcomes, and then find something new that provides that for you newly. And you can go back to something later on as well. You know, recycle it after a while and go back to meditating if you love it. And didn't work for you anymore, then go back to it after a while.
That's great advice, because I think we do kind of get stuck thinking, well, that worked in the past, but it's not working now. I must be doing something wrong. Let me do it twice as much. You know what I mean? Because it's just not working. Yeah, it's good to know that it's okay to move on. I mean, thinking about myself, like some things just don't, or eventually I do give them up, but it's just the thought that there's some things I probably should have given up a lot earlier than trying to make them work again.
Well, it's kind of like going to the gym. You know, when I work out with my trainer, you know, we'll do something for a specific muscle group for a while, and then he'll switch it up because he knows we've got to switch it up so that we get a fully balanced growth or definition around the muscle groups that I'm working on. And that's the same thing with our brains, with our minds. We want to do the same thing. Same thing with our spirits and with our heart center. Do the thing that works for you. Do it until it no longer works, and then do something else.
My business coach tells me to make a list of the 5 happiest things that make you happy, and make sure that you touch at least one of those every day so that you have something to be happy and grateful for every single day.
Yeah. And you want to be expressing, you ought to be expressing gratitude all the time. Setting your day off from that trajectory when you wake up in the morning. Do something that you love doing. Get present to it so that your day is in that place of joy, happiness, and gratitude. Let that be the launching point for your day, and then do it at the end of the night as well. A lot of people will go through their to-do list and they'll lament over all the things they didn't get done. And that's what they complete their day with and go into their dream world with, is all the things that they didn't do that day, rather than celebrating all the things you got done. That list of things you didn't complete, it'll be there tomorrow when you get up, when you start your day. But to end your day, celebrate the things you did accomplish. Celebrate the interactions that you had, the friends that you made, the friends that you hung out with, the loves in your life, right? Those are the things you want to go into your dream world having completed and touched, so that you go off into this dreamland of, oh, I have an extraordinary life. I have an extraordinary life. And then you wake up into that, start your day in that space, and it gives you power to deal with all the things there are to deal with throughout the day.
Well, we are like 3 podcasts, actually. They're probably going to cut this into 3 podcasts. How does somebody get a hold of you if they want to work with you, if they want more of your knowledge?
You can go to my web. I have 2 websites. They both go to the same place, periclesrellas.com or resetyourfinancialthermostat.com. And on the main page, there is a link to my free masterclass, the 4 keys to resetting your financial thermostat. And that masterclass will give you lots of information that you can put to work and use right now in your life to start to reset your financial thermostat. And then at the end of that, if you want to continue working with me, it'll tell you how to do that, what the next steps would be.
I have loved meeting you. I really have loved meeting you. I don't say that often.
Thank you, Paula.
I know, actually, I do say that often, but I do. But when I say it, I truly mean it. You've been awesome. You were exactly who I needed today. Exactly. I thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I've loved this conversation. I love having these conversations. I'm glad it made a difference. I hope it makes a difference for your audience as well. I appreciate you having me on.
I think the more I keep talking about this subject, people might be going, maybe she's onto something, and finally take the next steps to start working on your mindset. It doesn't change overnight for sure, but it takes some work.
And a really powerful mindset shift can alter things in an instant. Even though it may not all fall into place perfectly, it will alter things in an instant, and suddenly life is different. And as you're moving through doing the things that you want to do, moving towards the goals that you have, that new mindset will make all the difference in the world.
Okay, we got to go. I could probably sit here and talk to you all day, but we have to go. So it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So if anybody would like to reach out to me, you can find me at paulachristine.com. Thank you again.